issue 26 of the Hobby Hammer cast. I'm joined today by Miles.
Yeah, do
Well,
you
I'm
think we
not
should
joined. I'm
lose
not
that?
joined.
Like,
You're right.
join today. Join today. Is that like Miles is
People
here as
know
well?
Miles is here.
We need to rejig
Yeah,
this.
let's do that.
We,
Miles is
we
here
need,
from a different angle because that's the rejigging done.
yes. I always want to keep things fresh.
Do you know, I've been thinking about you've been shaming my hobby space, office space. I've been thinking about getting a curtain in the background.
Get green screen. You can.
A green screen, Miles. A green
Yeah.
screen.
You've got it already. Why don't you use it?
Because it doesn't clip out of the. I've not got enough light in here, and I've not got enough space to put more lights. Because you need a flat light across the green screen. So it was a useless purchase, that nice green screen.
Oh well. Yeah, I bought a thing for a light. It makes it look like a big bulb and it gives like omnidirectional light. But the problem is it's a very expensive one and it doesn't fit with the cheap ones I bought from Amazon. So I got like this £70 filter I can't do anything with.
Yeah, I've got some good lights for painting. I've got these LED mats, and they're actually really good and quite cheap. Like they bought them as like studio lights, but they're good. It's just getting a big softbox pointing at the green. Anyway, this is...
Today on Hobby Hammer 26, we are talking about the Blood Angel aesthetic. We are talking about the Hobby Challenge, Hobby Secundus that we did this previous weekend. Max will be giving the plug to his range of videos coming up from the Underhells campaign. But to start the issue, something that's very close to both our hearts, we want to talk about the Warriors of Chaos Arcane Journal being released. Now, Max, being Mr. Chaos, what are your feelings? Are you rippling with what's the word I'm looking for? Excitement, anticipation?
Yes, I am brimming with anticipation.
Brimming?
Yeah.
Thrumming?
No.
I can see you positively shaking like a shitting dog.
Is it just excitement? I don't know. Now, we've got two armies coming up in here, other than the fabulous artwork on the front. We've got two armies coming up in here, one of which I'm really excited for, the Wolves of the Sea, because I imagine that's going to be a Norse list because they're the seafaring chaos tribe.
So I only took the very briefest look at this, and I'm very model orientated. So I just saw the miniatures. Did they say?
Well, I'll get onto it.
Oh, yes, sorry, yeah.
So we've got Wolves of the Sea, and that's the Norse one. And the Norse themed stuff, they've teased the skin wolves coming back, which I'm really excited for. So I imagine that'll either be something that you can include in all Chaos armies, or something that's specific to that list one way or the other.
But if you just like the miniatures, I'm using them as unit fillers in my army, and then they're on the same base as I believe the ogres. So if you want to use them as a separate unit and not skin, well, anyway, sorry, yes. Wolves of the Sea.
Yeah, Wolves of the Sea. And then we've got an all-mounted Heralds of Darkness army. Oh, it says mounted. I'm assuming all-mounted. Heralds of Darkness army, which is actually really on theme for my current Chaos army.
For your Kurgan, right?
Yeah,
okay.
I'm thinking if I can do like a Wolves of the Plains army, because Norse being all tribesmen would fit, whereas Heralds... like the all-mounted, I imagine they'll just go with the Chaos Knight army, which I don't want to do as much as having just like hordes of Marauder horsemen.
You know, after assembling those Chaos Knights, I think we've talked about this before, that Chaos Knights feel like Space Marines in Warhammer, that they're very rare and they shouldn't be seen everywhere. So when you find a horde like this, there should be like almost like a retinue surrounding your lord, like this hardcore. Then the majority of them should just be like baseline humans, tribes following them into conquest.
Yeah, it's one of the things that I hope they have beastmen as well in the mercenaries and allies sections,
like mixed up.
These lists. Yeah, because one of the things that I think they actually lost this edition, they lost it a few editions ago, but I think is worse for the chaos feel in general, is not having beasts and demons mixed into the lists.
Yeah.
Because that's so cool when you read like Gotrek and Felix.
Mhm.
Right, go on. What are you laughing at there, Miles?
No,
Is
I
this
wanted to
snigger
make a
coming?
reference to the old realms of chaos. And when you built an army, you'd buy a leader and you buy a retinue, and you just
Yeah,
keep doing that, combining together.
yeah, and then they lead their separate war
Yeah,
bands,
war bands. Yeah.
specific followers. Yeah, well, that almost is how you could create an army all mixed up in like sixth edition, which is what I was mostly playing till recently.
Mhm.
And I really hope they've got that. Like the allies system does a good job, or like a decent job for that. But
Mhm.
I just hope I hope there's a bit of expansion into that in this Arcane Journal. Is what I'm hoping that you
Okay.
can sort of mix more. But I'm really excited about it. I'm really excited about it.
So I'd love to see.
Go on.
You have the Hell Blaster, which feels like a very token piece of artillery just thrown in there. It doesn't feel like thematically it fits with anything else. So I would like to see more of an overlap with maybe like the Chaos Dwarf range. So you could introduce elements from there in, like I say, the ally system to bring it in,
Yeah.
because that Hell cannon looks great. But I remember when it was introduced in Storm of Chaos.
Storm of Chaos. Yeah, yeah.
Yeah, the Storm of Chaos campaign, and it was monstrous. It was such, it would eat, yeah, it would eat its own crew, it would eat everything, but it always felt like this weird, um, uh, discordant note in the army
Yeah.
list, where there isn't, well, I don't think there's any kind of archery or any kind of artillery whatsoever apart from this hell
Yeah.
cannon in the
Yeah, yeah.
back.
It was throwing axes on Marauder cavalry.
Yeah,
And it stays
that
at
that
that.
was
There's
it.
no more than that at the moment.
Yeah, so I would like, I mean, if you are introducing it, yeah, I'd like to see more of the Chaos Dwarf stuff brought in. Might be dreaming, but
Well, that could
we're
be
nothing without
mixed
that dreams.
all together. Do you know all of it all together
Mm,
could
yeah,
very much
hordes
be
of chaos.
mixed. Exactly, exactly. So I'm hoping we see something like that from the
Mm.
journal, though most of it has been teased. I don't think there'll be a
Are you
specific.
disappointed that
Go
we're
on.
not getting any new miniatures?
Um, kind of, kind
Yeah,
of. He's
yeah,
one of the things with chaos. I think they needed an update of maybe the warriors are quite static, but then we've got the Sigmar range. One of the reasons I'm not too disappointed is the
yeah.
Sigmar Warriors of Chaos range and Marauders range is excellent and
It's
has been newly
it's
updated.
weird, right? It's really weird, right? That why you have like two overlapping, maybe like competing sets of sculpts when one is clearly superior over the other.
Yeah, I think they seem to want to keep the games entirely separate, but there's no reason for that. So
Yeah.
why are they? I don't mind these old ones coming back. I don't mind the old ones
Mhm.
coming back.
Yeah, same.
It's just they shouldn't expect them to do like too well when the
Yeah.
Sigma stuff is there.
Yeah.
Yeah, so I'm not too disappointed in it because I don't see it. I see Games Workshop's range as having been bigger. I don't just
Yeah.
look at the old world range.
I was hoping for at least one new Lord miniature. Just something that almost like crowns the reintroduction of this range. I mean, we've had a host of characters for dwarves, orcs, Bretonians, Khemri. So having said that, the old Chaos range is quite stacked with probably the best character sculpts in the range, in the old world range,
Mm.
coming out. So it's a little bit disappointing not to get that one super special character coming out. It's a little bit weird how they bringing back sculpts which feel inferior to the AOS equivalents that you could just port over easily.
Do you know it's a bit of disappointing what they're not bringing back? Archeon on
Oh, what aren't they
horse.
bringing? Oh, they did a run of him, didn't they? Like a limited edition run.
Yeah, but I mean, come on, man. They do like they've said
Like
they're
bring
doing
it back
like
proper.
metal sculpts remastered in
Yeah.
resin. Just even if it's not Archeon on horse, even if it's Chaos Lord on horse, just bring it
He,
back
d-
on
yeah,
demonic
he.
mount.
Okay, okay. Well, actually, Max, he didn't exist at this time, did he? So he cannot have that sculpt.
He's just a bloke in chaos armor, though. Like
No, no, no. It
he
has to be lore accurate. No, no,
oh, I'm
no.
not down for
It's.
that,
I'm
man.
sorry, you cannot have Archaon in this world because he doesn't exist. He's not born yet.
I know special characters exist in my world because I'm. Oh, they exist in the wider world, and
Yeah.
So when I'm playing battles, I always play like Otto von Pantaloons, like grim, like
Yeah,
Middenheimers that are fighting in a
yeah.
field to get the land off, like, I don't know, Hertwig
Boniface.
von
Yeah.
yeah, exactly. And I'm playing them games where there's no special characters in. It's all
Sure.
headcanon. So I
But
don't
yeah, I
care.
agree.
I
Like
don't care. Just bring
just
back the
as a
model.
sculpt, just as a sculpt, it's awesome.
Yeah.
Bring it back.
Yeah.
And in the same vein, I would have liked to see an Archaon on foot. I know it's like a limited edition thing, but that would have been cool
There was a
to
games day model.
reintroduce.
There's a few things that
Yeah.
people have been like, oh, why have they not brought back this model? And you say like the army box, like the really good standard bearer from the old army box in
Yeah.
2004.
The one with the four chaos symbols on. Yeah.
Yeah, and that was a special edition for that army box. Now I am disappointed that's not coming back as well. But I see why they've not done it, because it was a special edition. Or the Games Day models that are brilliant, but they're a Games Day model. So.
I think it's something to do with the law. If you advertise something as limited edition or special edition, that you can't then re-release it without changing it. So maybe change like a head.
Really? Is that the case?
Yeah. This is based on no kind of actual in-world knowledge. This is just my perception. But I get the feeling that, yeah, if you advertise something as limited edition and then you go on and sell more, well, that's just not on, right? You can't do that because you're creating false scarcity. I'm pretty sure there's some kind of law against that. But anyway, Chaos Warrior release. Cannot wait for the Arcane Journal. Cannot wait to see what kind of army list you can produce. And Max, could you please help me write an army list?
I will be doing a deep dive on both of them on day of release. They will be on day of preview. I will be producing those. So
perfect.
Yeah, they'll be
and
available straight away.
Where?
At the Barefoot Miniatures channel, Miles. At the Barefoot Miniatures channel. Look at the hat. It's the branding.
Oh, yeah. No, I'm going to get a tattoo here. LL.
What would you get? Little Legend, or would you get Miles?
I'm thinking like LL here, like a little teardrop. And maybe like down here, a little Legend. Just having neck tattoos is cool. I have thought about getting a tattoo. Again, the Aristotelian color wheel down here, the dots. I think that'd be a cool one to have. Because, I work as an artist, right? I feel like I should look more bohemian than I do. Like, I look very sort of like straight-laced, very preppy, very kind of like, well, not corporate. I've never really looked corporate. But I feel like I should have like a nose ring or maybe like tattoo my eyeballs. I feel like I should...
Cut off an ear or... Yeah, something like that.
Cut off an ear, yeah, maybe cut off a finger. Why not? Yeah, I feel like I should look more bohemian than I do.
I agree. You should get on it.
And speaking about looks and aesthetics,
is that what segue? Right. Okay, go on.
This week's controversy. Every week, the great thing about this show, we've always got something to talk about. Somebody is always pissed off about something. So this week's controversy is the Blood Angel release. And we've seen previews of the Sanguinor and the new Sanguinary Guard kit. Now, we chatted very briefly about this before the show. So Max, as a lay person, somebody who's not particularly invested in the rich culture of the Blood Angel scene, what do you make of these sculpts?
They're not too bad. They just look like Primaris versions. What were people expecting? They're more rounded and tactical, and they've got rocks to jump off. Honestly, if this is one of the reasons also why I don't get super excited about like main game model releases. To me, it's all about converting. If you want the super special unit. Because this is inevitably what comes up, because the majority of the market must love this. Regardless of what we see as heresy players online, the majority of the market must adore this stuff. Otherwise, they'd stop doing it, because at bottom line, people wouldn't be buying it, and they'd stop producing it if people didn't love it. So
Yeah, I mean, Blood Angels, they are the most popular, one of the most popular factions in 40k. They have a very strong aesthetic, and our perception, especially, we were looking at. I posted this up on social media last week, and it seems to be the majority of people responding are quite negative about the release.
We both have skewed heresy audiences, though.
Absolutely,
Right?
yeah. Now, looking at Games Workshop's official comments, it seems to be mixed. I mean, I can't say with any certainty whether it's 50-50, whatever, but it's a lot more mixed.
Yeah.
Some people like it, some people love it, some people dislike, other people have a real visceral reaction to this. So the Sanguinary Guard, what photos up at the moment? Sanguinary Guard?
The three together. I did the Sanguinor, as you said.
Okay,
Sanguinor,
great.
And then it's
Great.
Sanguinary Guard.
Phenomenal. So the Sanguinary Guard, what's the problem with the Sanguinary Guard? I think it might be partly not perception, like anticipation, because the Blood Angels, you hear in the lore, they are beautiful, right? They are aesthetically pleasing. They are master artificers. And when you see the proportions of a Sanguinary Guard kit then translated into Primaris, and them losing a little bit of the, I guess, like bling. Because when we look at the older kit, they are very, very overly ornate. There's
right. Well, let's pull up the picture of the older kit so that we can compare it to.
Sure.
So here we've got the older kit, Miles. It's
pulled got the older kit. So it's very clustered. It's very ornate. It's very, I guess, aesthetically unique. And it was a marker in where the Blood Angel aesthetic was heading. Before that, we had the old Dante miniature, we had the old Tycho miniature with the curved ornate armor, and this was a progression on from that. These new Sanguinary Guard, I mean, when we look at them, they're certainly a lot more stripped back. They don't have that crazy overwrought ornateness to them. The posing of them is a little bit weird as well. I mean, especially the guy with the spear who looks like he's kind of like falling over. It's not like a dramatic thrust. It's the posing with it feels very kind of like limp and lifeless and not dramatic.
Yeah, well, that is a. I'm going to come across as if I love these and I hate the old kit.
Sure.
I really like the old kit. No, he's one of the things I would say is that the old kit isn't posed very well. Do you know, like those are not good poses within the old kit.
Nope.
So there's definitely a level of nostalgia within the poses. Yep. They could have done better on the new releases. They should have done better on the new releases because they're new. But the guy that's throwing the spear, like got the overhand spear, like I think that looks really good. The guy that's like falling forwards with his sword raised, like that's not a bad pose. I think one of the things is they struggle to do jump pack poses because what does a guy with a jump pack moving actually look like? I think that might be one of the things.
Well, you could take inspiration from the Space Marine game, right? Playing the old one, the new one coming up. Sorry?
That's made up though, right? And you never see them from that angle because you're behind whatever his name is in the Space Marine game.
Titus. Yeah, I guess you could take the most dramatic poses. I mean, if you chart the sequence, you could take the most aesthetic, maybe the most pleasing movements, and then translate those over. When you look at it, I mean, I think most of what's wrong with these miniatures is just simply the posing. You have the guy with the Inferno pistol coming forward with like it's not like a natural movement and not natural swing. It could be the posing. Another big thing people have brought up is the lack of wings. Now, I'm not sure where you stand on Blood Angels having wings. We look at the old Sanguinary Guard kit. I'm pro wings as well. You look at the old Sanguinary Guard kit. Okay, maybe they're a little bit goofy. In my head canon, as they drop assaulting, they use the wings to stabilize themselves, and then they can eject them before they go into a fight. So they don't fight with the wings.
Is that actual fluff?
No.
Right. Oh, right. So, because I think of them as just completely ornamental, and they're like, that's just the representations of the angels coming on the day of Revelation. It's not like an actual functional thing. It's to play into the symbolism within the Blood
Yeah,
Angels should.
so they've had a rule. They had like better deep strikes, more accurate deep strikes, and I always thought with a Sanguinary Guard that might be partly why, because they have this extra stabilizing influence to them.
Okay.
That's then ejected, so they as soon as they hit the ground, press a button, the wings are removed, and then they could get into it.
Do we need to ask Mike Fellhanded on the mechanics of deep striking?
I think, yeah. I mean, if there's anybody who'd know, yeah, it'd be that guy, right?
Yeah.
And
We
I
need to get him
know from
on.
previous conversations that internally, especially on the heresy side of things, Sanguinary Guard, especially things with wings, aren't very favorably looked upon.
Really? But they've done so
Yeah,
many of them. In every opportunity they've had, they've done wings.
yeah,
Like Dark
yeah.
Furies, wings. Korax, he's got a jump pack, but they gave him wings.
Massive wings.
Like every
The new
opportunity they had.
Custodes unit with the yes, but Sanguinary Guard, Angels with Wings, big no. So I know internally, especially on the Forgeal side of things, a few years ago, that there was a movement away from wings. Now they have put up like a little token on the back of the jump packs, like the flared out wings. But when you see these, yeah, it strikes me as a kit that is ripe for kit bashing, and not something that I would necessarily pick up, purchase, and just run with straight away. I feel like I need to print out like a lot of 3D parts to make this work for me. So this is the Sanguinary Guard released by Games Workshop, and we can point to certain like I certainly don't think they're as bad as maybe some of the hyperbole that we're seeing online. But what makes a good Sanguinary Guard Scout? What makes a good jetpacker? So we're about to see something designed by Wilf
it's
of
the Sanguine,
Divergent.
or you've not sent me Wilf. So Miles has now sent it me, and I pulled it up on screen.
It was always there.
Right, it was always there. Fine, I just missed it.
So this is designed by Wilf of Divergent Realms. This isn't available to buy. This is so if anyone's watching, he's not selling this. This is a purely passion project. This is something he sketched together, I think, a couple of hours, because I think he's got a lot of these designs already, and he threw it together in a couple of hours. Okay, why does this look better than Games Workshop?
Posing, I think the sharpness of sharpness of detail. The cuts into the legs, like actually I'll just go back to the Games Workshop one. The cuts into the legs look really goofy. Like, do you know, on the lower leg and the upper leg? Whereas on Wilf's model, wherever that is now. On Wilf's model, it actually shows musculature, like that's thigh muscle shown within the cuts. Like if you ever look at a muscly dude, that's what a muscle looks like. Except it's translated to the armor, like Greek and Roman armors that they're based off.
Yeah.
I think the upper torso being segmented like a space marine works really well as having like the sort of abdomen in there.
If it feel like it can articulate that, it works. Whereas the Games Workshop ones, they kind of like, I think across the board with the Games Workshop one, they need abs, they need chest armor, muscle structure. They need certain things. We're going to put them on there without really much of a thought to how they would work and how they'd move. It's and a student said this, that the Sanguinary Guard Games Workshop releasing, they look like toys. And a lot of the releases that Games Workshop are producing, they look like toys. Whereas Wilf's version looks like a warrior, someone who can actually, believably, and I know I'm getting people laughing at me when I say that, but somewhat believable, can participate in the battle. And I think it's the overall care and refinement and detailing that Wilf has put into this.
Yeah. Now, do you think that's something that, other than glossing over the fact that we're all playing with toys, they're all toys?
Yes, yes.
And I'm happy for them not to be toys. Glossing over that, do you not think that is then just an aesthetic that we and I'm sort of playing devil's advocate here because I much prefer Wolf's version.
Mm.
Do you not think that's just an aesthetic that we personally are into, our sphere of people that influence us, like that
Yeah,
are
well,
also
we very
into?
much come from a Horus Heresy background,
Yeah,
right?
yeah.
I remember when the first sculpts started coming out for the Horus Heresy, you had the Palatine Blades, Phoenix Terminators just therein. And I knew at that point I could not wait to see what they did with the Sanguinary Guard, because they'd be mentioned in the lore. I was thinking, how would they, the amount of conversations I had with people, how are they going to do it? How are they going to introduce them? Are they going to have like an upgrade kit to the basic kit? Will they produce a new one entirely? To have that level of detail and proportion. I think proportion is a big thing here. Wilf's miniature is well proportioned, whereas the Sanguinary Guard Games Workshop are producing maybe a little bit too long in the leg, haven't got that what thickness Space Marines have. And I actually messaged Wilf what makes a good Blood Angel sculpt. And thank you, Wilf, for sending me like this huge list. But just to recap what I said, to me, some basic points. The armor and decorations are more deliberately inherent to the equipment rather than layered up or heaped on. And he's comparing this with the Emperor's Children, because I think that's the closest thing we can compare them to, especially in heresy circles. There's uniformity. They're a host, not a collection of egos and individuals. So we're seeing this translated onto his sculpt. Less is more. This is a great point. I think they can borrow much from other legions, but in less ostentatious way. Loincloths and tabards, knightly helms, and a wraparound cloaks, wings, muscles, and filigree abound make sense, but all those things brought together in a restrained elegance rather than loud cacophony. And he does go on to say, in some ways, I do sympathize with the sculptors who did the new Sandguard, because I get what they were going for. Boil down the essence of the BA to a simple, stylized aesthetic that, like the old Sanguinor, you don't need to adorn the armor to make him special, because the armor itself is special. I mean, I can't put it better than that.
Yeah. Agreed. Now, you mentioned the Sanguinor there. Shall we go on to the Sanguinor?
Let's have a look at the Sanguinor. Let's do a cross comparison with the Sanguinor, shall we?
So this is pulled up now, the Games Workshop Sanguinor.
Yes. So why does the old Sanguinor work and the new one doesn't? So when we look at the old Sanguinor, yes, it's in the same pose, but I think the proportions, it's very important to look at the proportions, where one is an articulated suit of armor, echoing the points that Wilf has made, that the armor itself is special. It doesn't need to be overly ostentatious. It doesn't need to be look at me. When you look at the Sanguinor sculpt in comparison to most other Space Marines, it's smaller, it's slighter, it's thinner. I mean, especially around the legs, the calves. Overall, the sculpt is a lot smaller than your average Space Marine. So it's articulated, it's molded around the wearer. The face has this impassive, cherub-like look to it, like you'd see representations of angels in art. They are very rarely angry or screaming. Rather, they are messengers from God. They are performing a function. They are performing a role. They aren't articulating human emotions, which I think Sanguinor has. He has sort of like this very, almost like lifeless, doll-like quality to the head.
Yeah, he's sort of displeased, but
yes,
yeah, he's. Do you know what? Other than the head and the wings are worse. I think the rest of it might just largely be paint job, because we've got these we've got these very stark non-metallic metal style on the old one, and that with it going to such a dark tone around all the joints, it emphasizes the articulation, whereas the articulation is actually there on the new one. It's just all bright, like where it actually meets. It doesn't suffer, I don't think, from the same as the Sanguinary Guard kit, which has sort of like a flat plate that just runs into the breastplate on the abdomen. The actual articulation seems to be there.
It might be the photography as well, because I've noticed seeing heavy metal jobs in person. They're a lot darker than they're represented on the screen.
Yeah, like the wings are definitely flat, too flat
Yeah.
for me. And I get what you're saying about the face.
The new face, yeah.
Yeah,
It's
yeah.
have
But
you seen Zac Efron recently?
no,
So
he's not someone that I follow.
he had an accident where he broke his jaw, and it's become like a lot more thick set and like almost like overly masculine. The way his jaw's been reset feels very much like that with the new Sanguinor. Like and I've seen comparisons to like Squidward from Square
From SpongeBob
SpongeBob
SquarePants.
SquarePants. Yeah, like a very big, thick, big.
Right, okay. Yeah, like I don't know. I don't think this is a bad model by any stretch compared to, say, like where the level the new Sanguinary Guard are.
Mm-hmm.
Do you know, like comparatively? One
Yeah.
of the things, that old model is just so triumphant.
Yeah.
Like it's there's almost like whoever's going to follow that old model, which is both iconic to an extreme and so well done.
Yeah.
Very hard to follow that model.
And expectation, right? We've been anticipating these updated sculpts for so many years, and you could get an idea in your head. These are going to be beautiful, but what does that mean? What does beautiful mean? Like when you start breaking down the words and trying to translate them across, I think you end up with something like Wilf's version. That for me is, even if I can't readily sort of like articulate why I prefer that over the new sculpts, and then we've talked about now, this very much feels like the Blood Angel aesthetic that should be.
Sort of. I think people wouldn't have been happy unless, say, like in the case of the Sanguinor, unless they'd printed at 110% that old model, regardless of what they did. I think, other than that, people wouldn't have been happy because they just love that old model so much. The Sanguinary Guard kit is great for conversion fodder, but I think people have got rose tinted glasses at that one. Whereas,
but then again, I mean, when you look at AOS and the Skaven range, how they've managed to translate the older kits into the new ones, they are largely, well, I can't think of a single bad sculpt in that set. So how can you get such faithful and good reimaginings of old sculpts and maybe not so successful translations of these sculpts? Max, before you answer that question, I know it's a talk show, but I think the question's a little bit more engaging than us trying to fumble an answer. So I want to leave it out to the community. Hand it over to you.
I'm unhappy you're stifling my voice, Miles. Come on.
Yeah.
Come on.
Shh.
Right. Fine. We're going to move on to the Necromunda stuff then, if I'm not allowed to talk about Blood Angels, which I've got no great passion for.
Not allowed to talk about Blood Angels, no.
Which I've got no great passion for anyway. Right.
Yeah.
Necromunda, you have painted the Secundus set in this last weekend.
I have. Myself, Joe, and Lawrence, we spent the past weekend painting up not only the Necromunda box set, but also Joe's gang. With these challenges, I do have the horrible propensity to just say, yeah, bring whatever you like. Just come down. Yeah, no problem. We could paint down the weekend. I always think we could do more than we do. But, we did spend a little extra time on the Saturday evening, putting in the late night. And we did actually manage to get the entire box set painted, plus a Van Saar gang.
Nice.
Which isn't bad going. Yeah. Unfortunately, Max, you were meant to come down, but you ragged your car through Wales.
Yeah. Well, I was down the week before one time for the head painting course and got a bit too happy on the way home. And the clutch was already going, right? The clutch was already going. It wasn't entirely due to the fact that I was driving through Wales too fast. The clutch went and then meant I couldn't make it to this wonderful weekend of painting.
Yeah. I mean, the next hobby challenge, we're kind of talking about what we want to do with it. I mean, hell, we can talk about it now live on show. We were thinking of doing a character, so that one-off piece you've always wanted to do, because the past couple of challenges we've done here at the studio have been sort of like a mass army, then we've done a box set. So why not reduce it just down to one subject?
Mm.
And I'm not married on the fact of it being the same character. It could be a different character each, because I think I can at least provide like a design portfolio for each student here on the date, and then go through some of the techniques. For you, Archaean on horse, I probably want to do the same, because I've always wanted an excuse to paint that miniature. And we also, because Joe and Lawrence, they collect ultramarines, we were talking about Gilliman as well, maybe trying to do a Gilliman in the weekend. So idea 1, character. Idea 2, Titan. We all club together and we paint a Titan. One Titan, not multiple Titans.
No,
one Titan.
multiple Titans. A Titan each.
Not a Titan each. One Titan. No, we do too much. We set ourselves too high of a bar. We don't finish.
You don't stick to the schedule. That's the problem. It's not the too high of a bar.
Don't blame the schedule. Don't blame the talent.
Don't blame the schedule.
Don't blame the talent. No, one Titan to get it done in a weekend. And then third option, there'll be something else in the future.
Something, I guess.
There'll be something else we'll get excited about. There'll be some new box set. There'll be something out there.
Yeah. Just whatever is the thing of the day. The thing of the day.
So we do have a challenge coming up, and this isn't only like invite only. Instead, at the studio at the end, middle of November, we're hosting the character conversion challenge, and tickets for this are available. Well, by the time this goes out, it will be available right now to patrons. They get 1 week early release. So if you did want to join up, you can join up for as much as a quid. That's all you need to join up to have early access to the tickets on Little Legend Patreon. And in November, what we do is it's sort of like a D&D session meet conversion course. So you come here with a bunch of bits, because we all know you got that power fist squirreled away for a special occasion, or that head you've always been meaning to use. We all have that collection of bits that kind of sacrosanct, like one day I'll be able to use those. Well, this is the weekend. Today is the day, and you are the dog, my friend. So you're going to come along this weekend. You're going to raid my bits box to supplement your bits. We're going to talk about the character of the miniature, what makes a good pose, a good heroic pose of the miniature. We're going to go into like the fundamental principles, the rule of thirds, all that good stuff. And then we spend that afternoon just putting the miniature together, and I'll teach you how to use green stuff and Milliput, how you combine them to create all manner of wonders, just to connect the different pieces on there. Hopefully, then, come Sunday evening, we'll have the chance with all our new characters to fight them against one another in a battle royale.
We need to get an arena for it. An arena, a proper arena.
We do. I got like a WWE wrestling ring. I could borrow that off my kids.
Yeah. That. You should paint it with oil paints to make it look more grimdark, and then give it back to the real.
No, I'm not doing that. They're messy enough as it is. So that's coming up on the 16th of November. But not only that, so in the December, I guess it feels weird in August talking about Christmas, but end of year blowout, we're having a Christmas special. Bring those characters that you use to convert, and we'll teach you how to paint them as well. So we're running courses in sort of like in tandem with another character conversion course. You don't have to attend it. It will be open to other people. You bring a character along, we will teach you how to paint that character from start to finish here at our studio in beautiful sunny South Wales.
In winter. Sunny.
In winter, yes. Always. It was
nice in summer. I will say that.
It's always sunny in South Wales. It's always beautiful here.
So just as a quick rundown of the Secundus challenge, Miles, how did you actually go about painting all of these models? Because they are in the style of those artworks.
The aesthetic, yes, the Secundus aesthetic. I mean, we've talked about this at length, how we wanted to give the impression of them being submerged in a deep ocean with very harsh flashes of light illuminating details of the miniature. And this did lead itself to a very quick paint style. especially with the Gene Stealers, especially with the Gene Stealer cult stuff, where I've always had this weird tug of war when it comes to Tyranids, that you want to paint them in a horror style. And when I think of Tyranids, I think of Alien. And Alien, when you see the costume in normalized light, sure, it's scary, but it's not as scary as if you half see it poking out of the shadows with its teeth.
Yeah.
That's the horror element of it. That when you see it out of the corner of your eye in shadow. Now, how on earth do you capture that in miniature? Putting a lot of black on there and just leaving the majority of it? No, you can't do that because you want to paint. So what we did is illuminate things on the base with magenta, just like the box art, just like we've seen throughout use. So we've used a combination of greens and teals, and then almost like light greens to build up the skin tones on the Tyranids and the cultists. And then we've underlit it with magenta. And that's the secret. So you can keep everything a bit like we talked about the early movie posters, especially like Death Wish.
Yeah.
If you go back and you see...
Right, let's pull up Death Wish poster.
Yes.
So we've got not the movie poster, but actually Miles sent us this through for a good representation of what he was talking about. So, Miles, why do you think you can't do this on a model?
Why do I think you can't do this? Because if you did this on a miniature, it just looks unfinished. That you paint a section of the face and you leave the rest in black. That's why movie posters today frame it with a secondary light source. So it gives the impression that it's in shadow, it's in dark, but you still have the silhouette. You can still see the detail. And that's what I've done with the magenta here. You look at the Necromunda. You look at the Necromunda box art.
Yeah, that would be if you didn't paint anything on that other side. Whereas
that's completely black.
Yeah, completely black. But say the Aliens poster that has one side black and one side detailed works because it's a singular direction, right? Whereas if you have a highlight of light from the other side and give the impression of light from the other side, you still can get that black look, that dark look to one side without having painted it.
Yeah. That's what we did in this project. So we had a spotlight, a very harsh light from one angle. Then we mired the majority of the miniature in darker tones, not absolute black, but a lot darker tones. And then we shot through the other way with a spotlight in magenta to illuminate details that would otherwise just be completely lost in the shadow.
You see, I just think it's a stylistic choice to lose certain details. That is do you know that's what sort of works with, because your brain filling in the blanks
and that's way more terrifying, right? Doing that your mind is elaborately constructing this horrible monster. And this style of miniature painting with the harsh spotlight and then the underlighting, like a secondary light source, works so well with Tyranids, and it works really good in this horror setting. And thankfully, it does lead itself to very quick miniature painting. So that a lot of the time, stupidly, we spent the majority of Saturday morning into sort of like early afternoon building the Van Sar kit. Oh my God. I always think kits take they're a lot quicker to build than they actually are.
No.
Holy God. It took ages to build it. And that was just one. So I built the cultists ahead of time. Just to, because I knew they'd be heavily converted. I knew they'd be a little bit more bespoke. I thought the Van Sar, no problem. They'd be like Space Marines. But my God, they took so long to build. Thankfully, though, we did make up a lot of time because they are essentially just armored body gloves. So the painting side of things, they go down really quickly, really, really tremendously quickly.
You did have 17 of the Van Sar to build. I've just counted them. So that is a lot.
Yeah.
To be like, we'll just build them on the day.
No. So Joe had his gang built already, and then we built only the box set.
Only like set. six or seven.
Eight guys in total. Okay. Yeah. And there was 2 people working on them on the set. And it took that long to build. It was a crazy. So if we do one of these projects in the future, one of these challenges, build first. We will have everything built before the challenge. Then we can just hit it up. Because at the end of the challenge, when you really inspect the miniatures, like under a microscope, unfortunately, with a big ass camera that I have, that I'm splashing all over social media, there are details that are simply lost. So you have like pouches, leather straps, just these tiny little details that aren't painted. Rather, they were given over to the atmosphere, so they still have like that blue teal appearance to them.
Yeah.
If we had more time.
Good.
Oh, if we had more time. So looking at this challenge overall, we managed to complete it. I feel like we managed to create a very, very good baseline. We could play with these miniatures, certainly, but I would like to then take them on a notch. If we just simply had more time to introduce oil paints, introduce weathering, like paint those little incidental details, I think we could have got the entire thing done to a much higher standard than we actually did.
Yeah, well, that's the nature of having a weekend to paint the gang into it. So you've almost got to, I think, look at these painting challenges as self-contained and what you can get done within the weekend. I think it's a very good, like, obviously it's a very good standard that you've managed to achieve in there, because there's like bits of battle damage, like the starkness of contrast between the colours. You definitely shot yourself in the foot building them on the day, though. That was a crazy idea. Crazy idea.
My fault entirely, because I always think that building stuff is just, oh, we'll take maybe like half an hour building them, no problem. But this kit in particular is so finicky, and the Gene Stealers didn't go together great either. So we actually had a guest on the studio, in the studio, not on the studio. I invited him, I allowed him inside. A gentleman by the name of the Empyrean, who you can find on social media. He came along, and it was lovely having an additional artist there to see his process and seeing the things that he did with the kit. We managed to knock out, again, like a very good baseline for him. Unfortunately, he couldn't stay for the 2 days, and he left in the evening. But it was wonderful to see like the comparison to how he is treating the kit, where he's using more whites, more, I guess, like orangey tones in the skin, undercut then with the orange from the base, as opposed to a lot of the cool tones that we used on ours. I mean, even the yellows that we used aren't like this big bright yellow. It's Japanese uniform, I think we ended up using. So it's quite a desaturated yellow we've used as the counterpoint, the counter color to the kit. But these challenges, you always have to remind yourself, we have 48 hours to produce a set that you can then game with. That's the intention. That's the challenge. And we managed to get it done. Looking at them more critically, what I'd like to do them over a more extended, relaxed period of time. I would like to embellish them with more detail. I would like to work on the transitions. I would like just everything about them. I just want to bring them up that extra little bit of spit shine, that extra little bit of polish to them. But for the weekend challenge, I've learned a lot, not to shoot myself in the foot, not by agreeing to take on too much either. So we're going to do that in the next challenge. We're going to keep to these very strict set of rules. I'm definitely going to keep.
I think you should never touch these again. I think you should.
No.
Yeah, because it's then not a 2-day challenge. I think you've got to look, because I do these challenges a lot, and not to like obviously a painting standard that you've got here, but it's a self-contained challenge that you like come to the end of the challenges. I am never touching those models again, because otherwise that's not the 2-day challenge. Because this is the result of your 2 days, and you don't want to demean the 2 days, the effort that you put in. Because if you put in another couple of hours, it's then not a 2-day challenge. Then, this better be the best model I've ever painted. There you go.
I'm definitely going to paint them more. Sorry, I do agree with but I need. I mean, I've already started painting them more, so like I've already gone past. But I have photograph evidence of where the challenge was left after 48 hours. So these are in their own little amber bubble for all time.
Right. Well, that is your Secundian
Yes.
experience.
Yeah.
What I have been doing, Miles.
Yeah, we didn't manage to play. We didn't manage to play. So, what's the game like? What's it like to play, Max?
The game's actually really good. Like
Uh-huh.
it's a two-person game, like entirely split two people. You can't
Yeah.
involve a third person in there
Oh,
because
okay.
it's like arbitrator GM versus
Mhm.
player rather than an actual full
Can you
Necromunda campaign.
can you play it against the game? So the two of you versus the game, like Curse City.
No, they don't have like set generative AI
Okay,
or anything like that. Though actually,
sure.
if you go on the Necromunda Facebook groups, there's a couple
Mm.
of versions of those rules that give
Oh, up
generative.
already. Right.
Not specifically for this, people had made those for Necromunda in general. That you have this
Okay.
path of set actions that you follow to play it as a one-player game. So you could definitely do that as a two-player, like someone taking control of the Spire and someone
Uh-huh.
taking control of the Tech Hunters. If you did want to see how it all played, though, Miles, I have just
Mm.
wrapped up my full campaign for the Incursion campaign. So that is out on early release on my Patreon now, and games 1, 3, and 6 will be released on the main channel. And we've just got
Oh my
game one.
God. Okay.
Yeah,
Holy hell.
yeah.
Yeah, I
So
was going to spend all weekend watching football. Not anymore.
I've not paid Miles to say that very that very sarcastic comment, but they've just come out on the channel like sort of
Mhm.
Tuesday, and
Mm.
then tomorrow, because we're recording this on the 16th, is in fact the release of the Underhells book, the Book of Desolation.
Right. This really so the Secundus book is good, but it's I read it in an hour and then it's like I want more, I want more. So I'm desperate for any kind of information on it. When's that video releasing?
My videos are releasing,
Yeah.
so I'm releasing a full campaign guide, and then Spyro hunting parties, Secundian incursion gangs, and Malstrain forces. So that's a Malstrain gang and Malstrain
Are
tainted
these
house
just
gangs.
rules?
Yeah, just rules because these are like gaming
You know,
looking at guides.
thank God. Because I'm one of those people, I can read the rules, but I don't understand them. I
Mm.
need somebody else to kind of like put them in context for me. So I don't like watching pre-release videos. I'd rather read it and understand and like form an opinion for myself.
Of the fluff,
But
you
I
mean?
mean,
Is that how or the gaming?
yes, of the fluff,
Right,
and I
right.
can do that with Horus Heresy because I played that quite a lot and I understood the mechanics of the game. But I don't play Necromunda that much.
Mm.
So when I read a rule, it's kind of like, oh, it doesn't compute. So those videos are just so super like handy for me, just for somebody who like plays a lot like yourself to like put these rules in context, what they actually mean.
Yeah, so I've done the main campaign one because
Mm.
that's going to be dropping the 17th,
Okay,
and then
isn't that okay?
the Spirers and Malstrains will be on the Patreon early release and dropping like going forwards. And the reason I've done the campaign is so that because it's so, or it should be so different to other campaigns that
Mm.
we've seen in Necromunda. And I thought it gets
Mhm.
people's gaming groups going straight away. Do you know, like, as you're saying,
Yeah.
passing that information down? That was
Mm.
the thing that I looked at in the entire book and was like, oh, this is the one that takes more reading than the others.
Mhm.
So I've done the
Yeah.
campaign first.
With the campaign stuff, even if because we all get that thing in our minds, like I'm going to run a Necromunda campaign, yeah, and then you start reading the rules. I don't understand any of it. I just kind of drift on to the next thing. But it's always the campaign bits that I'll read like a couple of segments from it for mainly for fluff like gambling dens or stuff like that.
Mm.
But like actually putting it all together, yeah, I cannot wait. Like genuinely, I cannot wait for that video
Mm.
because those are the kind of videos I really connect with because I don't understand how to play this game.
It gives you the moment of like
So
living vicariously.
I want the equivalent of a mother reading a bedtime story to her child. Max,
But
you are the
instead,
mother, and please tuck me in.
I think I'm going to flick back to the model of the mother that I think I most represent in spirit that you've done. in part of your Secundian incursion challenge. It's that sort of mother rather than a nice caring one. Right. Those are our Secundian incursions. We've done Warriors of Chaos and Sanguinary Guard.
Yep.
I think that's it for this week, Miles.
Should we briefly talk about what we've been up to, like painting-wise? Have you done anything painting? Have you done any more Bretonian stuff?
Painting-wise? Bretonians? No. Oh, actually,
Yes.
one sec. I've not shown these. So they're not things that I've done this week, but I've been doing the Villain Knights from Reconquest or Reconquer Designs.
Hold on.
As my mounted yeoman.
Okay.
And that's just because I wanted to go more of the Bretonian Exiles theme. So I've been painting them, but mainly I've been sort of Lego bricking a Zone Metalis board together and then like ripping it apart and then be like, no, it needs to be in a better design than that, because I'm trying to make it so that it's like 18 inches high on each tile. And then I'm going to have to film within this, like to do battle reports. So I'm putting it together and be like, no, I can't see that angle there when I get a camera. No, I can't fit my hand through there to move the model. And it's just becoming a bit of a nightmare to get actually the airiness that you require to be able to see into the Zone Metalis, whilst also having it dense enough, because I wanted like a really dense like rat runs and like warren of tunnels within these boards with more vertical height than it had sideways. And I'm going to be doing a video on it because it's been a process to get it all together, and it's required like a couple of days sat in front of the TV, not watching the TV, but just so my presence is there, and like just Lego bricking them all together in various combinations. And I think I've come down to I'm just going to have to start sticking things together and then sorting out problems in other ways when it like when things do or don't work, because there's just so many options with the kits. That's what I've been doing, other than editing till 12 o'clock at night to get these Underhells videos out.
Are you still enjoying being a Games Workshop shill?
Yeah, because I didn't say I'm not just being overly nice about them.
But I mean, the working hours, it must take its toll on you, right?
It is at the moment, but I think it's because I signed up for extra days. For if anyone doesn't know, I'm part-time landscape architect. I signed up for extra days at work this month because of getting married last month. So I needed the money. so then that has then put pressure on this like sort of last minuteness of everything. I've been trying to not compromise other content on the channel by doing the pre-release content. So I've also released in the last month and a half like 8 games on pre-release, like non-Necromunda things. So yeah, it's all been stupid, but it's been done. Like
okay,
that's what I've been doing. Not painting Villain Knights for a bit, Necromunda Legoing.
Yeah.
And putting too much.
I think we do have to highlight that there is an ongoing challenge, the Old World Challenge. It is still alive. It is still there. It's on sort of like life support right now, but there's these little beats still going on the Discord. I started putting together some Marauder Horsemen from the new Dark Oath set. Great big kit. Really love the dynamism of the horses. And just the characters in general. So even though it's minimal, it's still progress. Even though I'm only putting together 2 miniatures, it's still eking forward. It's still moving and progressing towards something. And alongside that, sorry.
I will say on the note of the challenge, I'm ahead of schedule of points painted. And I played
you're the only one.
I played a Bretonian game like 3 weeks ago. So I'm getting games in with them as well in the challenge.
Yeah, that's
why I was
the
minding
next
you
step.
about it. Yeah.
the next step for me, I need to get like an actual playable army, because I got a lot of stuff sort of like built. Those Chaos Knights, I've hit such a road thing with those miniatures. Roadblock, yeah, those miniatures, man. But enough belly aching. That's been my personal hobby amongst the Secundus and everything else alongside it. So I think that pretty much wraps up the show, right? We've talked through controversies, we've talked through passions, we've talked through angels. We will catch you in issue 37 next week.
I think it's 27.
27.
But
We'll
yes.
see you next time.
See you then.